What is up, YouTube, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Mike and the man behind the camera's name's Ian, and today we are reviewing the highly anticipated Bronco Badlands. Yes, the anticipation is real because we've waited for about a year and a half to get our hands on the real, freshly squeezed OJ. Not that Tropicana variant we reviewed in the Bronco Sport. This is the real one. And how many cocktails can you mix from real OJ, I tell you? 7, Bronco says. 7 to be exact. We've got them all listed here with all the different specs and accessories and axles you can get and final drives, but let's focus back on here. This is the Badlands edition, and it's got totally different spec to a base and totally different spec to a first edition. Totally different, and we're gonna get into them. Yes, that is where our future plaque of our 100K subs will go. Thanks to you, because obviously you're subscribing, because this is probably one of the first in-depth Bronco reviews that you will watch. Not only on focus on the Badlands, I'm actually gonna give you a sprinkle of all the other models, because I'm gonna talk about the front, I'm gonna talk about the side, I'm gonna talk about the back, I'm gonna hit on the interior, but most importantly, this is manual transmission, so I'm going to show you guys how the shifts go, how the crawl gear works. I'm also going to talk about how the noise is in the cabin for all you guys that have ordered one that haven't got one yet. So let's get into it. So there's 7 different variants, starting off with first edition. You could have got first edition if you're one of the first ones to jump on and book yourself a Bronco online. So let's not talk about that one, and we'll go down from there. Wild Track is the highest, most extreme off-roading version you can get. Then up next is Badlands, which we're going to talk about in a minute. Then Outer Banks, which is a little bit more streetable. Then Black Diamond, Big Bend, and of course, Base. Now you'll notice you have TM at the end of all these guys because they've trademarked the word first edition. Wild Track, Badlands, so on and so forth, until you get to Base, which isn't trademarked. But why pick Base then? Yes, this is a lot more beefier, more chunkier, more substantial than the Jeep Gladiator we reviewed a few months ago. With that one, we did this. Yeah, we got in trouble. Not happening again. But look at this front modular front bumper. Now you can get fog lights on one. This one doesn't have it, but it's just super strong. It obviously does have these front hooks that are really substantial. Like everything about it that I touch is meaty, and it does have something called front bash plates. Now this does have bash plates all the way around, but it's called bash plates. Yeah, pretty sweet. It also does have fender tie downs that can take about 150 pounds of weight. It does have these signature LED front headlights, and they have auto high beam. So this Badlands version has carbonized gray front grille along with this white lettering with Bronco on it. It also does have a front camera hidden here, and it does have all your radar assist right here. So it does have lane centering, it does have automatic braking, it does have all the tech that you need in this exact Badlands. So all Broncos are built in Dearborn, Michigan, which is about 2 hours from us, and they are all 4-wheel drive, and they have 2 variants of engines. This one is manual transmission, so you can only get it with the 2.3 liter 4-cylinder engine that makes 270 horsepower and 310 foot-pounds of torque. And you can also get it in an automatic transmission that makes 310 horsepower and 400 pound-feet of torque. I said foot-pounds. Yeah, I did. So here come the sprinkles. This is for everybody else. So right here you can see in our trim levels, you can get Wild Track only in automatic and Outer Banks only in automatic. But Mike, I want to buy stick. Well, then your only choices are either Base, Big Bend, Black Diamond, or Badlands. So this is the Badlands again, manual transmission, but that's not your only choice. Actually, what makes it really complicated is the fact you can choose your final drives. So for those that don't know what final drives are, there are 4 versions you can get, ranging from 3.73 all the way to 4.7. Now come over here and look at my 18-speed mountain bike. Now everybody's driven an 18-speed mountain bike. If you want to get up the hill, you go up to the tallest gear you can find, which is 4.7, and that'll take you up the hill because you're pedaling fast but moving slow. The other way around is you go to the lowest gear, which is 3.73, and it's very small and you pedal hard, but you're actually getting speed. And that's exactly what the same with this Bronco. Now, the higher the number, the more off-road, the lower the number, the more on-road. The Wild Track is primarily used for off-roading, and it's got a really high final drive ratio number. Whereas if you look at the base or the Big Bend, it's got lower numbers because they're designed really more for the street, including the Outer Banks, which is the one we're going to do next, and that is more of an on-road use Bronco. So if we move on to the side now, on the side of this thing, this is a 4-door. Again, you can get them in 2-door, you can get them in 4-door, you can get them manual transmission, automatic, 2 engines, and a whole bunch of interior options as well as exterior. But mainly are these wheels, because the wheels separate them. This has something called beadlock capability wheels, which essentially means that you can get the beads to be stuck to the tire itself. So for those that don't know what a beadlock is, it essentially means that when you deflate these tires really low, the rim actually doesn't come, the tire, sorry, doesn't come off the rim. It actually gets held on by the rim. You see, most tires are held on by just air. The pressure of the air holds the bead onto the rim. But in this specific case, you're actually mounting and screwing the tire onto the rim so it doesn't go anywhere. So that's why you can deflate it. Hopefully that made sense. So in addition to the wheels, you can get 3 different variants on Broncos itself. You can get a 16-inch polished wheel. You can also get a 17 and an 18. As I look at my master class over there, you can get so many different variants, 8 different wheels you can actually get on the Bronco. This one has 17s, but it has 33-inch tires. Now you can get an upgrade to make them larger to a 35-inch tire, but forget the tires. It has something called a front sway disconnect. But what does that all mean, and who really cares? Well, the ones that do care will care about the suspension, because this suspension has something called a Haas Bilstein position sensitive dampeners with end stops, and essentially means you can either jump it or you can actually have such different gaps and widths, and not my department. All I know is that this thing is rated to be off-road, and that is exciting because it does have these rock rails on the side. It also does have, this specific version, not painted door handles and not painted mirror caps, and they actually do stick out from the front here and not on the door itself. It also does have higher fender flares, and it does have in the back, it's got a 5-link suspension. And for those that know cars, you can comment below and let me know what 5-link rings a bell in your mind. Audi, Audi. But there are so many goodies, like check this out. It's got something that says accessory ready here, accessory ready up there. It's got the awesome Badlands little logo on the side here. But here's a cool part. Look at this little nugget here. You get these bags, and in these bags is where the doors go. And it tells you exactly which bag is for what door. You see, you can slide this bag in. Check this out. Look at this thing. It tells you which door this bag is for. How awesome is that? And what happens is you just open this up, you unzip this, and you slide this whole bag into the door, and you've got grab handles here that you can carry your door and just put it away. You can actually even store them. All 4 of them will go neatly in the back trunk. Awesome. Wrangler. How come you didn't think about that? We are dying in here. Accelerated headquarters just lost its AC, and it's 40 degrees outside, and it's about 50 degrees in here. And for you Americans, it's like 140 probably. It's boiling. But luckily for you, this Bronco has a soft top that you can remove. And it was very easy to do. It was simply just 2 clamps, pops open, a little button here, you press down, this goes back, and you slide these guys out. And that's it. And that's how the soft top works. So easy. Now, you can get 2 choices. You get a soft top and you get a hard top, but you also get an insulated option as a hard top. So you can get the regular hard top and you get an insulated hard top. You can also get 2 different color variants. You can get colored black, or you can get a black molded and plastic version. One last thing before we jump to the back of the vehicle is you can get a tube step as an option, which I would highly recommend. Just getting in and out, this does sit a little bit higher, so for me to get inside, you can see I'd have to kind of hold my little grip bars here, which is very easily attainable. Would have to jump in. So to have the tube step to get in would probably be a suggestion if it was me, but that's just a thought. All right, so let's jump off as I hold my grab handle here and I jump off. This Bronco, man, the looks right here is beautiful. What a good looking. With this soft top off, man, what a difference. A huge momentum shift from when I started the video to now. My adrenaline's pumping up because I just love the way this thing looks on the side. It's nice and like spaceship frame, squared out, boxy, rugged. Oh, all the good things that made me want to order one when I did back in the day. Now, on the back here is the exciting part because of this. Just check out this degree of opening. It's got a 150-degree opening. Look how wide this thing opens. Yeah, this is crazy. Fuel door does not have a cap. It is capless. Easy to put in, but check out these nuggets right here. Look at this. U15, U14, U13, established in 1966. A lot of little nuggets, including this little lasso down here for these straps. And then the Bronco right there. But what is missing, which we've noticed, is there's no bottle opener that you had in the Bronco Sport. What's up with that? Where did it go? Where's the bottle opener? Put in the Bronco Sport, but not in the real Bronco. Now, this bumper is like the front. It is steel on the bottom and plastic on the top, which looks to be like you can step on it with this little sort of design they have on the top. They do have these tow hooks on the back on both sides, and you can tow 3,500 pounds in a Bronco. Take a look right here. It does have both your 4 and your 7. So there we go, pretty straightforward stuff. Let's check it out. I just still love how wide this thing opens, and you get a full, obviously, tire. So the only actual Ford badge on the Bronco is right back there. Everywhere else just says purely Bronco, just like the Mustang also does. It only has one Ford badge, obviously, under the engine, but this specific case, it doesn't have it under the engine. It's only back here. Pretty cool to know. Sub-branding. So in the back here, the texture of the floor is rubberized, so it should be easy, fairly easy to wash off, because it does have, on the bottom here, it does have a cap you can pull up and you can drain it in the bottom. So you can get this dirty. Obviously, it's designed to be that way. They do have a little Bronco little symbol back here as well. So they have the Bronco little nuggets they put here and there with the last ones, as I mentioned. Now, before we jump inside, I want to tell you one more thing, that this does have 360 camera, and the camera is nice and hidden back here. Pretty cool spot to hide it. All right, so this is the back of the Bronco, and I want to show you how this folds down. So it's just an easy pull. This, you pull it, and this is all one system. It's not two separate systems. It folds fairly flat, and I was kind of surprised by this. I would expect this to just fold on top, but I guess because the height of it, it also slides the back seat forward, or the bottom seat forward. Pretty easy to get in, get out. That way, this does not go any further back. It's just one position seats. Now, this does not have carpet. If you want carpet, you have to go to the model above, or Outer Banks has that. It does have an open and close, so you can actually wash this interior down. Yes, right there. Pretty cool. It opens up on both sides. Interestingly enough, this does have the MOLLE system, which stands for Modular Lightweight Carrying Equipment. It's from the Army, essentially, so we've reviewed a bit of that in the Bronco Sport. But essentially, it means you have accessories that you can add to the back of all this stuff. So this whole interior is a MOLLE-equipped front and back on the Badlands. As far as seating position goes, very comfortable. It sort of slopes inward, so I feel my body's sliding backwards, but it's tight, it hugs me well, and really good height. Again, the top's not on, so I'm not sure. I guess I have to do it and show you guys with the top on, but with the top off, it just feels very big. I feel like I'm like in a mini Hummer. So nice. These seats are awesome. I was really complimentary of the Bronco Sport seats and how it felt, and this is exactly the same seat. Very soft, with some firmness at the bottom of it. So watch my finger as I push down on this material here. You can see there's a lot of give on these seats. They're very soft on both ways, front and back. Oh, look at the back of this thing. Wow, look at the flex. If you can see that or not, but a lot of space, nothing to complain about. Oddly enough, it does say no step right here, because a lot of people will be stepping on there. It says no step. Because as you saw in the video earlier, you can actually remove these doors. The buttons are not on the doors. They're actually in this center console here, so that's when it's auto for the back windows, but it also does have USB, USB-C, and a full plug-in you can plug. Because there's a lot of rear differentials, and obviously this is a four-wheel drive vehicle, you don't have a flat floor in the back. There is a bump here, but the bump does taper down, so you can actually see it. You can see how it tapers down. But important to note, this does have the Bang & Olufsen 10-speaker sound system, which you can see back there. You've got 2 speakers in the back, but most importantly here is the airbags. You see, look all the way through. You've sort of got this like roll cage feeling where you have airbags here to remind you that you are safe. Kind of important when there's nothing protecting you except for this. All right, so I'm inside the front seat of the 2021 Bronco Badlands. This is really updated to today's times. Like, look how nice this 12-inch screen is. But besides that, I love all the tidbits that are so Bronco feeling, like these grab handles on the door, these little yellow accents they have here. Now, you can get 2 types of seats on the Badlands. You can get this marine grade vinyl, or you can get a leather trimmed vinyl with a bit of marine grade. Now, this is the full marine grade vinyl all the way through. This is not the leather version, but I like it. I like the feeling of these seats. But I'm just looking around me and I just like it. It's just nice, big, and there's a ton of buttons here to use. So anyways, let's start at the left side here and work our way up. Obviously you have your unlock lock. In the door handle here, it does have these little stretchy feeling pocket doors that you can slide in maybe a water bottle. I don't think so. Let me grab one and see if that works. So here's the bottle, and yes, it does fit perfectly in the door. I was completely off. You couldn't fit 2 of them, you could fit 1 of them, and yes, it fits perfectly in there. I would say on all 4 doors, yep. On the left side here, you do have lights that you can actually have from your mirrors on the left and right. So when I push these buttons, it does illuminate that side and that side. So for people walking up, or if you want to sort of illuminate if you're in the middle of the forest and you want to see if there's a bear there, I guess you hit a button and you can see if the bear's going to be illuminated or not. Everything else is pretty straightforward. Automatic lights, high beam assist, all that stuff. On the steering wheel, pretty straightforward, nothing crazy. It does have the Bronco in the middle here. Yeah, I can't see anything different there. As far as the HVAC controls, pretty straightforward. You do have a camera button that you can hit, and the camera does come on. Again, this does have 360, and it's a nice big visual that I see in front of me there. So on the center console here, it does have a USB and a USB-C and a little bit of a storage compartment in the front there. It also does have your on-demand 4-wheel drive system button that stands for 4A. It does have 2H, which is obviously 2-wheel drive, and then 4 low and 4 high. It also does have hill descent that you can push right in the center here. But more importantly, this has all the GOAT modes offered in the Bronco. And GOAT stands for goes over any terrain. So you can just simply slide it over and you'll get beautiful visuals on the screen. So in this specific case, it has normal, eco, sport, slippery, mud, sand, rock crawl, and Baja, which is awesome to have. Simply but just by sliding all these GOAT modes. And again, different models will have different GOAT modes, and it builds its way up all the way from base. Now, this is manual transmission. It does have a 7-speed, but it's not 1 to 7. It's actually 1 to 6 and a specific crawl gear that says C. That's the first time I've seen anything like this where you can actually just press the clutch down, I've got to move my seat forward, press the clutch down and then pull it back into C. That is awesome to have. So reverse is up, C is down, and then first obviously all the way up to 6th. Cool part about it, it says on the bottom here, another little Easter egg, designed and engineered by Ford in Dearborn, Michigan, USA. It would be cool if they had a number here on what number this Bronco was. Probably asking a little bit too much, but hey, you never know, can never ask. And underneath that, they do have wireless charging. You simply just take your phone and slide it there. Probably one of the easiest wireless chargings I've seen. Some of them are actually like in there. Some of them you got to slide them in and they move around. This one simply just width-wise slides in and it works. And behind there is obviously 2 big cup holders. So let's see if this bottle fits in. Perfectly, fairly straightforward. Doesn't move anywhere. Pretty easy to go. No complaints there. What I will say, this does have, because this is Sync 4, and we'll get this in a minute, this does have wireless CarPlay and wireless Android Auto. Now, this material is a little bit different. It's a little bit brown. It looks sort of like a matte sort of painted item. This is sort of different than anything else in the cabin. It's different than anywhere else I can see. All this is sort of black rubberized, even on the top here, which I'll get to in a minute. Over here, it's sort of a brownish color. Actually, I'm lying. It sort of looks brown, a little bit gray, but it sort of looks brown. Anyways, get your own opinion for that. And again, just like the back, everything's in center console as far as the windows go, and they are automatic on all 4 corners. You do have window lock, and then your mirror controls are here. Your mirror controls are not here, they're here. So when you get into one, it's down here. As far as the center glove box goes, lots of space. It does have a cigarette lighter here. No USBs in there, just a cigarette lighter and a tray. Importantly enough, it doesn't slide. Now, I wish it did. I have half decent position, driving position here. Let me just move this to my position I want. It is manual. It is not automatic seat. It is a manual seat. It doesn't have lumbar, but it does go back and forth, obviously. That's pretty typical. And it does adjust up and down. And the passenger, let me find out for you. Yep, same thing as the driver. It's not powered. So interestingly enough, this doesn't slide backwards and forwards. I wish it did. Oh, this is a cool material. It's like a denim sort of material here. It's not just straight leather. It's a denim sort of feel. Interesting. I like it. So that was a lower dash. On the upper dash, it's called a high-level instrument panel, and that's basically your buttons here and on the top here. Now, it is pretty cool. So on the top here, they do have an accessory mount where you can put a GoPro right here, and you can actually have yourself being filmed, which is pretty cool. They also have, on the top here, USB and USB-C. How cool is that? If you don't think it was on the bottom or hiding in here, it's hiding up here. So you can put your phones and you can put it right on the dash. Pretty cool place to put something, I think. Just kind of unique, you know, you never think they'd do that on the top. It's always on the bottom or hiding somewhere, but this is right on the top here. Cool parts about this as well is on the top here, they have 6 auxiliaries, so you can have everything set up on switches. 6 of them. This is like a Mack truck. Nuts to me, but hey, it is what it is. Another cool piece they have here is they have a digital owner's manual, and that's done and scanned by this QR code that's hiding right behind the mirror. I didn't read that anywhere. I'm just assuming that's the case because why else would they put a QR code? Only makes sense for a digital video because, well, hey, that's why you're watching this one, right? But most importantly, guys, on a serious note, is this right here. This is where your four-ways are, your stability program, your locking rear diff, your locking front diff, and of course, your front sway bar disable button right there. So that is sweet. And they also have your home link up here in this visor. This visor is very large, and yes, it's not our channel, we can't do this, but Yuri and Jacob are our buddies, so we can't do that. Anyways, let's put that back in there. Now, if we talk about the tech in the car, we've got the 12-inch screen here, but we also have a digital display in the driver's cluster here. We have a speedometer that's analog, as well as a fuel gauge, but on the right, you have a little box, and it's all digital. And it basically shows your RPM, and now the new Ford stuff has it in decimal places. So it's like the F-150 reviewed a couple of months ago. It's all on this little screen here. But the meat and potatoes really is in the Sync 4 of this 12-inch screen. So let's take a deep dive before I die up in here. Sync 4 by Ford. So you have audio, phone, nav, apps, settings, and features. So straightforward stuff. Obviously, audio is fairly straightforward. Phone as well. I usually skip that. Nav. But let's look at how the screen actually works. Now, it does have a little arrow here. So it's basically 2/3 and 1/3. And you can slide this 1/3 to become the 2/3 by simply just pressing this little button. It does have a slider, so I can slide my hand over, and you can see how now it's moved from here over to here. So let's try that again. You just slide over, and it's slid over. But let's do some of the meat and potatoes like I like to do, and not really the nav. It's more the settings and the features of the car. So this is your settings list. You have Sirius XM, phone, nav, sound, vehicle, and as I mentioned for sound, this does have a 10-speaker Bang & Olufsen that is up there. It's up in the bars in the back, which is pretty cool, and we'll get into sound after. But vehicle here, cool parts about it, 30-minute max idle. So you can set if you want the car to idle for a maximum of 30 minutes. Rear occupant alert, because there are sensors in the back to tell you if there's an occupant in the back. That'll remind you. Let's go right to Windows. Windows, you can have something called remote open, where you can use your remote to open it. But wipers, check this out. Courtesy wipe. I haven't seen courtesy wipe in like forever, because German cars have courtesy wipe. We've got a courtesy wipe right here on the Bronco. Pretty cool. Lighting, this is because you can have auto high beams, which this one does have, as well as zone lighting, which essentially means that you can have 4 different sections light up. You can have the front, the sides, left and right, and the rear light up. So when you walk around the car, you obviously can see where you're at. Then the next one up is ambient lighting. You cannot choose colors. It's simply just one light where you can adjust the brightness of it. Now, in terms of locks, it is also pretty cool. You can have auto lock, auto unlock, mischirp lock. So obviously if you don't close the door properly, it beeps. You can have the switches to be inhibited, and you can have audible feedback, and choose on what doors you want to have lock or unlock. Pretty straightforward stuff. Features. So features is cool. Driver assistance. This has a ton of driver assistance up. So you can have adaptive cruise control, your lane keep system, pre-collision, rear camera, blind spot information, parking aid, cross traffic alert, driver alert, and hill start alert. Zone lighting. So zone lighting, as I mentioned, the 4 different sectors. So if I hit this button, you can see I will have 1, 2, 3, 4. I can choose which zone I would like to have. And in this specific case, the car's not running, but when I hit any of these 4 little quadrants here, it does illuminate that back section. So let's get out of that, and we go to toning. This does have trailer sway, and it does have a connection checklist. And finally, obviously, the owner's manual I can hit on there. So really interesting to see if that QR code is an owner's manual or not. But that's pretty much the meat and potatoes on this Sync 4 system. Let's see if there's anything else I missed. No, pretty straightforward. Hotspot, Ford Assistant, 911 Assist, valet mode, and connectivity. Pretty straightforward stuff, but the clarity of this is very, very good. The cool part about it is when you start the car, you go into different driving mode, it displays a really cool video on both screens. But before we take it for a drive, the screen that I would leave it in is on the far right here. You have these little like pages looking button. You hit that button and you can take it all the way down, and it's basically like a quick menu. It kind of does the same thing as the main screen, but you can slide. You can see, you can slide through fuel economy, trips, phone, that kind of stuff. But I would leave it on off-road status, because it shows you the display of the differentials, which is pretty cool to have. That's what I would leave it in if I was driving this car all the time. But really, I'm not even gonna look at the screen. I'm gonna look at everybody else looking at me, because this thing looks so Badlands. So I'm going to start off this driving portion with the most important question that everybody has about the Bronco, and that is, how slow is the raw crawl? Now, I have everything in its right position in GOAT modes and all that stuff, and now it tells me that the straw bar disconnected and it reconnects if I go faster than 32 kilometers an hour. But I'm going to put this in crawl mode, and I'm just going to show you how fast crawl mode is. And this is how fast crawl mode is. Look at my walking speed. it's very slow. Matter of fact, if I pretend I'm jogging, I'm almost going the same speed. But seriously though, it's hyper slow. Now I'm gonna try that exact same thing, but in first gear and not rock crawl to show you the difference in speed between the two. So this is first gear, I'm still in 4 low. It is faster, as you can tell. I am walking faster than I was when I was in crawl gear. Now I'll show you crawl gear again if you guys missed it. That is a lot slower. Look at this is how fast I was walking before. Hopefully that was a really good presentation of the speed you can travel in first gear versus the crawler gear. Wow, it's really echoing here. Someone put some sound deadening. Yeah, don't worry, when you get the hard top, which is the next one we'll review, we'll have some sound deadening in the top. This soft top has no sound deadening. Obviously, when you're doing like 100 kilometers an hour or 60 miles, you can kind of hear everything. Pretty much like the Wrangler, there's no difference. The bottom is more insulated. The body feels more rugged. The doors, yes, they are a little bit light, but that is because obviously you've got to remove them and they don't want to make them too heavy. So stuff I'm going to talk about is really technical. I want to talk about the gear shifting. I want to show you how, when I shift it, it actually faces me as the driver. It's not one of those where I'm shifting it and it's a long throw. It's a decent throw, but it's facing me. It's not really facing that direction. So this is probably more for the gearheads or those that are buying manual transmission. All right, so let's go through the gears here, just so you guys know what first gear is like to second to third. So I'm in first here. I'm gonna shift to about 5,500 RPM. That takes me about 40 kilometers an hour. Second gear, foot to the ground. 5,500 RPM, I'm at 78 kilometers an hour. Foot to the ground, third gear. At 5,500 RPM, I am at about 120 kilometers an hour in third gear. That is plenty. I don't need any more than that. So people ask me, should I buy the 2.3 V4 cylinder or should I buy the 6? What do you think about power? Well, listen, power is tough because it really depends on how you're using it. I've driven this car now for about 4 hours. I will say that if you're doing a lot of city, the manual is perfect. If you're highway cruiser sitting on the highway back and forth, and you want good mileage, the manual is perfect. But if you're a more spirited driver, you have no choice but to get an automatic transmission. So it's kind of funny. You can't be spirited, want manual transmission, and get the bigger engine. You have to get the smaller motor manual transmission. But the smaller motor has plenty of power. You don't necessarily need to have the bigger motor. So obviously all the writers and all the journals that I've read up to this point said you need to get the bigger engine because if you want more power, it's a little bit gutless. And that's only probably because the Jeep offers a manual transmission with the V6, and yes, it does have more power in manual transmission, but you don't get the aesthetics of this thing. And yeah, most people that are going to buy this thing are going to care about fuel mileage. That is a big one because a lot of people would harp on the Jeep side about fuel mileage. So yeah, I guess it makes sense. They make the smaller engine with the manual transmission. And if you got the dough and you want to spend the money, you can get the bigger engine and get more power. So this is the road noise at about 90 kilometers an hour, or I'd say about 43 miles an hour, maybe 45 miles an hour. Feels like one of the windows are down. But with this top down, how cool does this thing look? This thing looks awesome with the top down. Man, it's the reason to buy this thing. How's performance and how's the steering? Well, this does have 33-inch wheels, so obviously it's going to be a little bit lumpy in terms of steering. How's acceleration in third gear at 3,500 RPM, foot to the ground. Now this is turbocharged, so yep, there's the boost. It is plenty. I mean, people say that they want to have a bigger motor, and I just don't exactly see it. Especially if you got the 10-speed. I'm sure that thing's going to move half decent. But it is light. It is light. Next question is, how is the suspension and how does it feel? Well, this is still body on frame, so it is obviously going to be on a truck chassis. It's not built on a car chassis. So it is going to be a little bit harder, but it does have 5-link suspension on the back, and that means that it is soft. This has shock absorbers on both sides on the rear. So it is softer than the Jeep Wrangler, no doubt, because that one feels more trucky. Feels like you get pushed from side to side when you hit a bump. This one, it still does a hair, but not as bad as that for sure. This thing gets a ton of looks. Now, I don't know whether people just don't know what it is, but it's very boxy. People think it might be like a Hummer EV because it has some resemblance to it. But also, I've actually had people from a G-Wagon look at this thing because it's actually interesting. This to me, yes, it does compare obviously the Jeep Wrangler, but it does have a piece of the G-Wagon in it. I know it sounds crazy, but look at the headlights and look at certain body angles of this thing. This is like a budget G-Wagon. What y'all think? They're going to sell a bunch of these things, and I'm so curious to know how people spec these things out. Are they going to spec it like a base model with, say, the Sasquatch package in a 2-door, because that's what I'm thinking about getting? Or do they get like the Outer Banks in the 4-door with all the toys, and then also have all the tech on it, obviously automatic braking, all that fun stuff? But man, what do you get? What do you get? So interesting to find out. There's so many variations, so many interior, so many exterior choices, so many mods, so many accessory spots. It's crazy. It's crazy. They're really trying to pull people from other brands or just Jeeps in general or SUVs in general to jump on board to this. That's going to be really, really interesting. What do you guys think? Comment below and let you know what you guys think. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks to all the love you give us, because without you, we wouldn't have the time, effort, or patience to review cars in sweltering heat for the last 9.5 hours. Catch you soon.